when you take all forms of eating disorders, about 7% of young adult females and adolescent girls are affected. So, and many more of them will exhibit what we call subclinical signs of eating disorders or disordered eating and body dissatisfaction that can often be made worse over the holidays. So more people are struggling than I think we are aware of, and I think we need to be sensitive to these issues. Women are the most vulnerable to developing eating disorders, but that is not to say that men don't struggle, and we are seeing more young men dealing with anorexia and bulimia, and we're also seeing that men struggle with binge eating disorder. So this is an issue that affects many people, men and women, and needs to be really taken seriously. You know, the holidays can be a wonderful time for families and relatives and friends to get together, and people look forward to the holidays. But unfortunately, for our patients with eating disorders, they often see the holidays as really a nightmare. It's something that they dread, that they talk about and anticipate their plan, how they're going to get through for months ahead of the holidays. It's a really stressful time for people with eating disorders, not only because there are large amounts of food around, and that's how people celebrate holidays, is through a wonderful selection of food, but to someone with an eating disorder, they see that as a real threat. Oftentimes they're terrified that they're going to overeat. And as I mentioned, it's not only the fact that there's a lot of food available, but they're under tremendous scrutiny by family members and friends for whether or not they're going to eat and partake in the celebration. And they often get criticized if they don't eat, and often ostracized. This is easier said than done for the person with the eating disorder, but we recommend just saying, oh well, I overdid it, I ate a bit too much, and getting right back on track with the next meal, not compensating in any way, not feeling that they have to go for an extra run the next day, or perhaps skipping breakfast, which is fairly common for patients with eating disorders if they feel that they haven't overeaten. In the worst case scenario, the person with the eating disorder may be racked with so much anxiety and guilt that they cannot eat anything, or they eat very little. And I just tell parents or hosts of parties to really not take it personally and to try not to make a comment or turn it into a battle, at least at that moment. It often could be met with more oppositional behavior. It's not often going to be helpful. I think a big one for a person with an eating disorder is to maintain a pattern of regular eating. And what we know is that even people without eating disorders sometimes do eating disordered behaviors during the holidays. And the example would be the people who fast all day to get to indulge in the Thanksgiving meal, or go for a run, in order to be able to feel comfortable eating the meal so they won't gain too much weight. And so those behaviors are often modeled for our patients with eating disorders. And the eating disorder, a kid with an eating disorder or the adult with an eating disorder are often, they have so much anxiety about the meal that they will often fast all day to feel that they can eat some of the Thanksgiving meal and not let people down. But unfortunately, that's a setup for a disaster. Oftentimes, they get to the meal and they're so racked with anxiety that they don't eat all day. They don't even participate in the meal. Or in some cases, they may overeat and then have to purge or vomit to get rid of the calories. So we really suggest sticking to a meal plan where they have their regular breakfast, their regular lunch, a snack before they even get to the meal. And perhaps they're not going to indulge in the meal as many of their other family members would, but if they can have a small amount where they would feel it's acceptable, and then have a snack later on that evening, that's preferred to going and fasting all day and then either not eating at all or indulging. How family members can really help the person with the eating disorder, the person going through an eating disorder treatment during the holidays, is to not comment on the person's appearance, to not say, oh boy, it looks like you're getting very healthy or you're gaining weight. The person may mean that with all good intentions, but someone with an eating disorder may interpret that very negatively. Also, keeping the focus off of food, putting it on the person's normal life, I think would be pretty helpful and supportive.